Hi there. Welcome back to Elder Insights. We're so glad you're here. How have you been feeling lately? We hope your days have been peaceful and your home feels like the sanctuary it should be. But let's be honest for a moment. Have you ever walked into a room, looked around, and felt a little weighed down? Like the walls are slowly closing in? Not from stress or emotion, but from stuff? Clutter has a sneaky way of building up, especially after 60. We hold on to things out of habit, memory, or just because we forgot they were even there. But the truth is, clutter doesn't just take up space. It steals our time, our energy, and even our peace of mind. In today's video, we're going to gently walk through 20 things that no longer need to be in your home. Not to judge or pressure, but to help you breathe easier, move freer, and enjoy the space around you more. Each item we'll talk about might seem small, but letting go of even one can make your home feel lighter, more like you again. And if you find value in this kind of thoughtful content, we'd be honored if you gave this video a like, shared it with a friend, or subscribed to the channel. Your support means the world to us, and it's the reason we keep creating content that's made just for you. Item 1. Expired pantry items and spices. Let's start in a place we all visit every single day, your kitchen pantry. Now tell me if this sounds familiar. You reach for a spice jar at the back of the shelf, blow off a little dust, and realize the label says, "Best by 2017. Or you find a can of soup that somehow traveled with you from your last home. We've all been there. Expired pantry items are like quiet squatters. They sit there taking up space, making you think you got food options when really, you don't. And old spices? They won't make you sick, but they sure won't bring any flavor to your dinner either. That bottle of oregano might still shake, but if it smells like nothing, it tastes like nothing too. One woman I spoke to, Nancy, 68, told me she cleared out her pantry for the first time in years and ended up with 2 trash bags full of expired food. What surprised her most wasn't how much she threw out. It was how much more peaceful her kitchen felt afterward. "It's like my pantry could finally breathe," she said. And so could she. So here's a simple step. Take just 15 minutes to check your pantry today. Grab a bag, look at the dates, and toss anything expired or clearly past its prime. Especially things you know you'll never use. Like that quinoa you bought during your healthy eating phase 3 years ago. This isn't about waste, it's about reclaiming your space. Because every item you remove gives you one less thing to worry about and a little more room to move forward. And when your shelves hold only what's fresh and useful, cooking becomes a joy again, not a guessing game. Item 2. Old medications and toiletries. Now let's take a gentle stroll into the bathroom, or maybe even the hallway cabinet, where all those little bottles live. You know the ones, the half-used shampoo from 3 years ago, and that prescription cream you used once, or the tiny hotel lotion you brought home thinking you'd use one day. And then, of course, there's the medicine shelf. How many expired pills are quietly gathering dust in there? Pain relievers, antacids, maybe even antibiotics from a surgery long past. We hold on to these things thinking they might come in handy again, but truthfully, many of them are no longer safe or even effective. I once helped my aunt clean out her medicine drawer, and we found cold syrup that had turned brown, aspirin that expired in 2012, and 5 open bottles of the same lotion, each one only a third full. She laughed and said, "I don't even remember buying half of this." But afterwards, she told me something surprising. Clearing that one little space made her feel more in control than she had in months. And that's what this is really about. Not the clutter itself, but the feeling that life isn't piling up around you. When you take time to clear out what's expired, you make room for what actually supports your health today. Keep the essentials, your daily prescriptions, the shampoo you actually love, and let the rest go. You don't need to wait for a big spring cleaning. Just open one drawer or shelf, check those dates, and be honest with yourself. If it's sticky, separated, discolored, or long forgotten, it's probably time to thank it and toss it. Item 3. Clothes that no longer fit or flatter. Let's open that closet door now. How many outfits are hanging there that you haven't worn in years? Maybe you're keeping a dress that once fit just right, or a pair of pants you've been hoping to slip back into someday. But here's the truth. Clothes that no longer fit or make you feel good can quietly chip away at your confidence. Every time you pass them, they whisper, "Not anymore." And who needs that kind of reminder? Keeping only what fits well and feels good today isn't about giving up. It's about honoring who you are now. One woman told me she donated 3 bags of clothes she hadn't touched in a decade. What she kept? Just the pieces she loved wearing. She said getting dressed felt easier, even joyful again. So take a moment to look through your closet with kind eyes. Let go of what no longer suits you, not just in size but in spirit. Your wardrobe should lift you up, not weigh you down. Item 4, shoes you haven't worn in years. Shoes have a way of piling up quietly. They sit in closets, under beds, or tucked away in boxes, waiting for an occasion that never seems to come. Maybe it's a pair of heels from an old wedding, or some stiff dress shoes that pinch your toes just thinking about them. We hold on thinking, maybe I'll need them, but deep down, we know we won't. And every time we reach past those unused shoes to get to the ones we actually wear, we're reminded of clutter we don't need. Letting go of shoes that no longer serve you doesn't mean you're giving up style or possibility. It means you're making room for comfort, for simplicity, and for ease. A woman once told me she narrowed her collection down to 5 pairs. They all fit, they all feel good, and I wear every single one, she smiled. That's the goal. Not more, but better. So peek into your shoe rack today. If it hurts your feet or hasn't left the shelf in years, your home and your knees will thank you for letting it go. Item 5, old bedding and towels that are worn out now. Let's head into the linen closet, or maybe that hallway cabinet where blankets and towels tend to live longer than they should. You know the ones, the scratchy towel with frayed edges, the bed sheet that's so thin you can almost see through it. We often hold on to these out of habit. It still works, we say, but comfort matters, especially now. You deserve softness, warmth, and the simple pleasure of wrapping yourself in something that feels fresh. A viewer once told me she finally tossed out the towels she'd had since her kids were little. They were more memory than material, she said. When she replaced them with just a few new ones, she noticed something unexpected. Her daily routines felt more calming, like tiny acts of care for herself. So take a look at your towels and bedding. If it's faded, rough, or full of holes, it might be time to say goodbye. Keeping just the pieces that feel good can turn even the most ordinary moments, like drying your hands, into something gentler. Item 6, unused kitchen gadgets and appliances. Now let's open a few kitchen drawers. You might find a garlic press you used once, a waffle maker still in the box, or a dozen gadgets that seemed clever at the time, but now just take up space. We all fall into this trap. The promise of convenience is hard to resist. But when your counters are cluttered and cabinets are stuffed, cooking starts to feel like a chore instead of a joy. One man told me he gave away an egg cooker, a panini press, and a spiralizer, none of which he'd used in over 5 years. I realized I only use the same 4 things anyway. He laughed. And now his kitchen feels open, usable, and calm. You don't have to get rid of everything. Just ask yourself, when was the last time I actually used this? If it's collecting dust or requires instructions every time, maybe it's not making life easier after all. Clearing out unused appliances isn't about being less prepared. It's about creating a space that works for you, not against you. Item 7, duplicate or mismatch food containers. The infamous container drawer. You open it slowly, hoping nothing spills out. Lids without bottoms, bottoms without lids. 3 of the same size, none of them stacking right. It's one of those everyday annoyances we just learn to live with, but we really don't have to. Food containers are meant to make life easier, not harder. When you're digging through a pile to find a matching lid, that's not saving time. It's stealing it. A retired couple once told me they downsized to just 6 matching sets. It's the best thing we ever did for our kitchen, they said. We stopped playing the lid guessing game. So open that drawer or cabinet and be honest. Toss the cracked ones, the stained ones, and the pieces that don't go with anything. Keep what you actually use and what stacks neatly. You'll be amazed how much smoother meal prep and cleanup feels when everything just clicks into place. Literally. Item 8. Stacks of old paperwork and mail. Let's head over to that pile. Maybe it's on the kitchen counter, in a drawer, or stacked neatly in a corner. Old bills, expired warranties, envelopes you meant to open weeks ago. Paper clutter builds slowly, but once it settles in, it's hard to ignore. Most of us keep papers just in case, but the truth is, very few are ever needed again. And when they pile up, they quietly add stress, like unfinished business staring at you every day. I met a man named Harold who finally tackled the mountain of mail on his dining table. It had its own zip code, he joked. He shredded 3 trash bags worth of documents and kept only what truly mattered. His home felt twice as big when he was done. So take 10 minutes with a trash bin and a shredder. Keep the important things, insurance papers, legal documents, but recycle the rest. No one needs an electric bill from 2011. A clear space helps clear the mind, and that piece is something worth making room for. Item 9. Old magazines and newspapers. Magazines and newspapers have a way of multiplying. You tell yourself you'll read that article later or finish that crossword, but somehow weeks turn into months, and the stack keeps growing. At first it feels harmless. A little pile here, a few more over there, but soon it's taking up tables, shelves, and that cozy reading chair you used to love. One woman told me she had magazines dating back to 2005. I kept thinking I'd use them for recipes, she said, but all I ever did was move them around. When she finally let them go, she found something better: space to sit, relax, and actually enjoy a current book. If the pages are yellowing and the dust is settling, it's time. Keep 1 or 2 if they're truly special, but let the rest go. Almost everything is online now anyway. Your home should reflect the life you're living today, not the articles you meant to read 10 years ago. Item 10. Broken items waiting to be fixed someday. We all have them. Those broken things we swore we'd fix someday. A lamp that flickers, a chair with a loose leg, the toaster that hasn't worked since last winter. They sit quietly in corners, garages, and closets, waiting for attention that never quite comes. And here's the truth: someday often never arrives. Every time you walk past that broken thing, it's a silent reminder of an unfinished task. It doesn't just take up physical space, it chips away at your mental space too. A man named Robert told me he had a broken fan that moved with him twice. By the time I tossed it, I felt lighter. Like I threw away a little guilt too, he said. So ask yourself honestly, if you haven't fixed it in 6 months, are you really going to? If the answer is no, let it go. Donate it if it's repairable, recycle it if it's not. But either way, free yourself from the weight of what's broken. Your home deserves things that work, and so do you. Item 11. Gifts you kept out of guilt. Some of the hardest things to let go of aren't what we bought, but what someone else gave us. A sweater that never suited your style. A decorative plate collecting dust. A book you never wanted to read in the first place, but you keep it because it was a gift. We tell ourselves it would be rude to let it go. But here's the thing: holding on to something out of guilt doesn't honor the giver, or you. A lovely woman once told me she had an entire shelf of gifts she never used. It felt like a museum of other people's tastes, she said. One day she gently packed them up and donated them. Now that space feels like mine again. If a gift doesn't bring you joy or serve a purpose, it's okay to let it go. The love behind the gift has already been received. Keeping the object won't make the sentiment any stronger. Your home should reflect who you are today, not just who others expected you to be. Item 12. Decor. You no longer love or recognize yourself in. Take a quiet look around your living room or bedroom. Are there pictures, wall hangings, or little decorations that no longer feel like you? Maybe it was a style you liked 20 years ago, or something you picked because it was trendy, not because it spoke to your heart. Over time, our taste changes, just like we do, but sometimes the decor stays frozen in an old version of our life. One man told me he still had framed art from when his kids were teenagers. Now they're grandparents themselves. I didn't even like looking at it anymore, he laughed. When he finally replaced it with a simple, peaceful landscape he loved, he said his whole room felt calmer. You don't have to redecorate everything. Just let go of what no longer brings a smile or a sense of comfort. Surround yourself with colors, textures, and pieces that reflect who you are now, not just who you were. Because your home should grow and evolve along with you. Item 13. Random knickknacks and dust-collecting souvenirs. Little trinkets have a way of multiplying over the years. Souvenirs from trips, tiny figurines from friends, or that cute thing you picked up at a gift shop long ago. One by one, they seem harmless. But before long, shelves are packed and dusting becomes a chore. These small items often carry a memory, which makes them harder to part with. But here's something to think about. You don't need the object to keep the memory. A woman once told me she had over 50 tiny souvenirs from cruises she and her husband used to take. She kept 3 favorites and took photos of the rest before letting them go. Now I still have the memories, but my shelves can breathe. She smiled. Choose the few that still warm your heart and let the rest move on. Maybe to a donation box or just out of your life. Your time and energy are too precious to spend dusting things that no longer bring you joy. Item 14. Collections that no longer bring joy. There was a time when collecting felt exciting. Stamps, teacups, figurines, vinyl records. Each new piece added a spark. But sometimes what once brought joy slowly turns into something that just gathers dust. Maybe your collection grew bigger than your space. Maybe the passion faded, but the habit stayed. And now those shelves feel more like storage than stories. One gentleman told me about his sports memorabilia collection, hundreds of items from decades past. I realized I hadn't looked at them in years, he said. I was just keeping them out of obligation. He chose a few special pieces to display and donated the rest to a local youth center. If your collection no longer lights you up, it's okay to let most of it go. Keep the few pieces that still carry meaning and release the rest. You're not losing the memories. You're creating space for the life you want to live now. Item 15. Uncomfortable or unused furniture pieces. Every home has that one chair no one sits in, or the side table that wobbles, or maybe a bulky cabinet that hasn't been opened in years. We keep these pieces because they've always been there. But when was the last time they actually served you? Furniture should make life easier, not take up space or block your movement. As we get older, comfort, safety, and accessibility become even more important. I once met a woman who had an old recliner that squeaked and sagged. She never used it, but kept it because it belonged to her father. Eventually, she donated it and replaced it with a small reading chair she loved. Now I sit there every morning with my tea, she said. It feels like a fresh start. Take a walk through your home and notice what you truly use. If something's only collecting dust or making the room feel tight, maybe it's time to let it go. You deserve a space that supports your everyday, not clutters it. Item 16. Instruction manuals and cords for things you no longer own. You open that drawer, you know the one, and it's full of mystery cords, old phone chargers, and instruction manuals for appliances you can't even remember owning. It's like a graveyard of forgotten technology. We keep these things just in case. But let's be honest, if you haven't used that cord in the last 5 years, are you really going to need it next week? And most manuals, you can find them online in seconds. A retired couple told me they had 3 boxes labeled electronic stuff in their garage. When they finally sorted through it, they realized most of it belonged to devices they tossed a decade ago. We didn't even miss it once it was gone, they laughed. So take a few minutes and sort through that drawer or box. Keep what you know you use, maybe a phone charger or a power strip. But the mystery cords? Let them go. Less clutter means fewer tangled wires and a whole lot more peace. Item 17. Books you'll never read again. Books are deeply personal. They hold memories, ideas, and emotions. But sometimes our shelves overflow with titles we haven't touched in years. and likely never will again. You might hold on to a novel because you loved it once, or a cookbook you meant to try. But if a book hasn't been opened in over a decade, maybe it's time to ask, does it still serve me? A woman named Carol told me she had 5 shelves of books, but only ever reread 2. The rest just sat there, she said. When she donated most of them to her local library, she didn't feel loss. She felt relief. Now I can actually see the ones I love. You don't have to give up every book. Just keep the ones that still inspire, teach, or bring you joy. Let the others go to someone new who's ready to discover them. Your stories matter, but they don't all have to live on a dusty shelf. Item 18. Empty picture frames or unused wall decor walls tell stories. They reflect who we are, where we've been, and what matters most to us. But over time, picture frames sit empty, and old wall art stops feeling like us. Maybe you meant to put a photo in that frame. Maybe the decor made sense 20 years ago, but now just fades into the background. When we stop noticing what's on our walls, it might be time for a refresh. A man once shared that his hallway was filled with random frames, some crooked, some blank. I didn't even remember what half of them were for, he said. He took everything down and rehung only a few meaningful photos. It felt like I reclaimed the space. You don't need to cover every inch of wall. Choose pieces that make you smile, that feel warm and personal. Let go of the rest. Sometimes a little empty space on the wall can bring a lot more peace to the mind. Item 19, old holiday decorations. You never use any more. Holiday decorations carry memories of family, laughter, and cozy nights. But tucked away in bins and boxes, many of them haven't seen the light of day in years. Broken ornaments, tangled lights, or themed decor from a style you've long outgrown. We keep them because they remind us of good times. But if they stay boxed up year after year, are they still bringing joy or just taking up space? One woman told me she had 4 bins of Christmas decorations, but only used items from 1. The rest just made me feel guilty, she said. When she donated the extras, she felt lighter, and decorating became fun again, not overwhelming. Take a moment to open those boxes. Keep the pieces that still make your heart warm. Let go of the ones that no longer reflect your traditions today. Holidays are about presence, not presence. And simplifying your decor can make space for what truly matters: peace, connection, and ease. Item 20. Anything stored in boxes that haven't been opened in years. We all have that one box, or maybe several, tucked in the garage, attic, or closet. Taped shut, dusty, forgotten. We tell ourselves that they hold something important, but if we haven't opened them in years, do they really? Often what's inside are old papers, mismatched cords, childhood crafts, or random keepsakes that felt meaningful once. But time changes what we need and what we value. A man I spoke with said he finally opened a box that had moved with him 3 times. Inside, a broken clock, faded greeting cards, and tangled ribbon. I kept it for someday, he said, but someday never came. You don't have to open every box in one day, just pick one. See what's truly worth keeping, and let the rest go. You may even find that you haven't missed what's in there, not even a little. Sometimes the heaviest things in our home aren't the items themselves, but the weight of postponing the decision to let go. If you've made it this far, take a moment to pause and breathe. Just thinking about what you might let go of is already a powerful first step. This isn't about throwing everything out or living like a monk. It's about creating a home that feels peaceful, purposeful, and fully yours. Sometimes letting go isn't just about space, it's about choosing freedom. Freedom from guilt, from old versions of yourself, from things you've outgrown. I've spoken to so many people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who told me the same thing. I wish I had done this sooner. But the truth is, there's no wrong time to begin. Whether it's one drawer or a whole garage, each little change adds up to something bigger. You deserve a home that matches the season of life you're in now. One filled with ease, light, and things that truly matter. So as we wrap up, remember this. Your home is more than a place. It's a reflection of your energy, your peace, your story. Letting go of what no longer serves you isn't about loss. It's about making space for comfort, clarity, and joy in the present moment. You don't have to do it all at once. One shelf, one drawer, one decision at a time is enough. Each step is a small gift to yourself, a way of saying, I choose to live with ease. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing you're ready to let go of? Your stories inspire others more than you know. If this video brought you clarity or comfort, please give it a like. Share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to subscribe to Elder Insights for more heartfelt, practical tips for living well after 60. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of your space. You deserve a home that feels just right.